This video will be an analysis of a shot from Lord of the Rings: The Fellowship of the Ring. This shot comes in the scene where Frodo, Sam, Pippin, and Merry are being chased by the Nazguls. The Nazguls are servants to Sauron looking for the Ring of Power. Frodo possesses the ring and therefore is being viciously hunted by the Nazguls. To start is dominant image. The dominant image of the shot is the Nazgul. He is the largest and most central figure in the shot, and rightfully so. The Nazguls are supposed to be the most feared and deadly of all the antagonists in this film, and this Nazgul's large presence in this frame certainly conveys this. The director wants the audience to be most interested in what the Nazgul will do next. Will he find Frodo and the hobbits, or will he never realize that they are right under his nose? What the Nazgul does next is most important. This is why he is made the dominant image of the shot. From the Nazgul, the audience's eyes switch to the hobbits in the right corner of the shot. They are the subsidiary contrasts in the image. The hobbits still play the most important role in the film, but this scene's purpose is to introduce and show the scariness of the Nazguls, so the hobbits fall secondary to the Nazguls. Being made subsidiary contrast to the Nazgul is just one of many ways the hobbits are made to be weaker in this shot. In terms of composition, this shot is comprised of the bottom of a canopy of trees, a Nazgul, some roots, and 4 hobbits. Diagonal lines dominate the shot. Diagonals are created in the canopy of the trees and with the roots. These diagonals point towards the bottom and center of the shot. They point towards Frodo and the Nazgul's hand. Frodo is in possession of the ring, and the Nazgul's hand is practically grabbing for it. This scene is already so tense that the addition of the diagonals pointing towards the source of the tension makes the suspense palpable. Next aspect of the shot to be analyzed is the color. The shot is dominated by dark colors, specifically greens, browns, and blacks. The overall darkness of the colors obviously convey and help to create the grim, fearful, and bleak feeling of the scene. On the left third of the shot, there are 3 distinct shades of green. The color green is often associated with inexperience. This comes from nature, how saplings or young plants will be green and older plants will be more brown. On the same lateral level as the hobbits is the lightest shade of green, whereas at the top of the shot, at the Nazgul's head, is an almost brown color. This symbolizing the Nazgul's age and experience and the hobbits' lack of it. Relating to the idea of the green forest is how the characters are positioned with regard to each other, also known as character proxemics. The Nazgul is the hard separation between the hobbits and the forest. The green forest, in this case, being good or being the goal of the hobbits. The Nazgul is the literal barrier the hobbits have to triumph over to attain their goal. The Nazgul is also positioned above the hobbits, giving the Nazgul power over the hobbits as well as showing that their journey will be an uphill battle. One of the themes of the Fellowship of the Ring is friendship, and this theme is conveyed by the proxemics of the 4 hobbits. They are packed close together, all in an effort to hide from the Nazgul, but it also shows their inseparability and the strength of their friendship. Even in the face of death, they stick together. Proxemics shows the 4 hobbits' bond, as does framing. The root sections the hobbits off from the Nazguls and make them into their own cohesive unit. Tolkien, the writer of The Lord of the Rings, lived through World War II. He saw the horrors of war and what it did to nature. As a result, one of the themes of The Lord of the Rings is respect for nature. Peter Jackson, the director of the movie, knew this and therefore shot the scene so that the root would be framing the hobbits away from danger, nature being the hobbits' saving grace. But the roots, while being a shield between the hobbits and the Nazgul, is also a constraint to the hobbits. They are literally backed into a corner as if there is nowhere else to turn. This shot is a low-angle shot. The low angle allows all 4 hobbits and the Nazguls to be fit into the frame while also giving a position of power to the Nazgul. In this moment in the film, the hobbits have nowhere else to go and they are submitting themselves under the wrath of the Nazgul. The camera angle also shows how puny, insignificant, and weak the hobbits are. Even though the camera is closer to them, the Nazgul is larger than the four of them combined. In terms of lighting, the most interesting aspect is the Nazgul's effect on the lighting of the hobbits. The left third of the shot is relatively bright, but then the Nazgul cuts off the brightness. It is as if the Nazgul is casting a shadow onto the hobbits. The Nazgul is the source of the hobbits' problems and dampening their mood. The Nazgul cuts off all light or hope. The lighting is much harder on the Nazgul, exemplifying his crude, rough, and strong nature, whereas the lighting is softer on the hobbits, portraying them as gentle but weak. The density of the shot really pertains to Frodo's emotions at the time. The shot is quite packed and busy with 5 characters, roots, and trees all being in frame. The chaos of the shot is a parallel to the feelings of Frodo. He has just obtained this ring, and all of a sudden his life is turned upside down, and cloaked horse riders are trying to kill him. There's a lot of stuff going on in the shot, just as there is a lot of stuff going on in the life of Frodo. There are 3 levels of depth in this shot. The 3 depths show a progression of consciousness. The first depth being the hobbits, who are very much alive and are conscious. The second depth being the Nazgul, who is semi-alive and semi-dead, being immortal but not being entirely human. Nazguls are basically tools for Sauron, an extension of his being. The third layer is the forest, which is alive but not consciously. The camera is positioned relative to what the audience relates to most. The hobbits are the most human and therefore the most relatable. They are homebodies, like food, and are afraid of change. Nazguls are also somewhat relatable in the sense that all humans are afraid of becoming like a Nazgul. We are not afraid of becoming hooded, deathly figures, but we are all afraid of becoming puppets for a larger power and blindly seeking something for another individual, just as the Nazguls do for Sauron.